has been busy this summer. They have spent $188 million, the most aggressive summer window for Madrid since 2019, signing some big names. Dean Huijsen, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold making his move over here. And the big conversation right now is the fact that Barcelona defeated Real Madrid 4 times last year. Phil, how did these summer signings close the gap a little bit between Madrid and Barca?
Well, I think we have to remember that there's a new man in charge, isn't there? And Xabi Alonso has obviously made these signings specifically because he wants to play a certain way. He's identified things that he needs to improve in this Real Madrid side, and these are specific players to do a specific job for Real Madrid. They've spent big money, and if you see 3 of those 4 signings, they're all defensive players. So there's obviously a shift in how he wants Real Madrid to defend. They've got to defend better, but he wants them to defend differently as well, in a different formation, perhaps from last season, and also with a different level of energy.
The gap hasn't been closed. They need to go out and prove that this squad is a team, right? Because last season, they were completely unbalanced. They had moments. It's Real Madrid. They have a lot of quality on the squad. But
how do they do that?
It's up to Xabi Alonso to figure this out. There were times, ironically enough, during the Club World Cup where he switched things up and did give the team this balanced feel. And then the one game that they lost pretty poorly, I would say, he kind of reverted back to all the problems that Real Madrid had originally with Fede Valverde playing out of position as a right back, although he's a really good right back, but then that unbalances the squad. Xabi Alonso needs to fix these issues and grab now all these players that they've signed in order to close that gap.
A lot of it happens technically, tactically with the players that you bring in, but there's also a mental aspect to this, Jay, where it kind of seems like Barcelona's got Real Madrid's number. When you think about it psychologically, how is that as a player?
I think it's more, obviously you're aware that this is going to be a tough game because you haven't beaten for a long time, but I think that will spur you on. It will give you more fire in your belly, more hunger. You know you have to go out there and perform. And the fact that they've signed some, I would say, really good players, young players again, it fits their model. But again, like you said there, Nico, they're great players, but they haven't been a great team yet. And I think that's what Xabi Alonso can do for them. He can make them into a good team. He did it at Leverkusen. He made, I don't want to say average players because they're still very good players, but he made a team that had no business winning the league.
No business.
Into winning the league. And I feel like that's why he's got his move. But in particular, those signings there, I love Dean Huijsen. Dean Huijsen is a very good player. And even now, he's stepped into that side. He looks like he's been there for years. Very strong. Even though he don't look it, he can bring the ball out, keeps things very simple, reads the game well. He's a very good signing.
Shall we talk about another one of those signings? And it's one that I don't know too much about in Franco Mastantuono. Obviously, you will have seen him a lot more than we have in Europe. But I think it's an interesting signing, not just because he's an exceptionally gifted player, but because he's an exceptionally gifted young player, a teenager that Real Madrid can perhaps market as coming up against Lamine Yamal, because Real Madrid, the relationship between Real Madrid and Barcelona, it's unique because it's not just what you do, it's what the other guys are doing as well. That conditions everything that you do, how your season is viewed, how your success or failure is viewed. What have they done? What have Barcelona done? They've uncovered this absolute gem in Lamine Yamal. What have Real Madrid done? Well, they've gone out and they've signed this unbelievably talented teenager who they hope will progress and, if not compete with Lamine Yamal, well, come close to being at his level.
Real Madrid has done this time and time again, right? They went to Brazil and found Vinicius when he was very young, took him from Flamengo. Did the same thing with Rodrigo at Santos. Did the same thing with Endrick. That one didn't really work out.
Not yet.
Yet, right?
Arda Güler.
Arda Güler going to Fenerbahce. Franco Mastantuono is younger than Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
And
how old is he?
He's 17, about to turn 18, but he's I know by days, right? He's younger than Lamine Yamal. He's the real deal. He's really good. He's mature beyond his years. He's able to play in a Super Clásico, Boca River, and really take control like I've never seen.
Will he start though, Nico? Will he start?
I don't know if he starts. I don't know if this is an immediate thing for Real Madrid, but there's a lot of potential for them to push a kid that has a massive upside. Don't get me wrong. I said the same thing about Endrick, and it hasn't really worked out. It feels like he hasn't clicked, right? Yet, because they're still young. Maybe this is not a this season type of signing.
Where would you see him playing in this Real Madrid side?
On the right-hand side?
Yeah.
As maybe a variant in a second half. Maybe not start. I don't think this kid's ready to start yet with Vinicius, Mbappe, Bellingham sitting in the hole, right? It's. I think Xabi Alonso needs to find what his ideal 11 is first, what his best team in order to compete in every single tournament, because Real Madrid is obligated to win every single thing that they play in. But when you start adding layers to this, because you do have a lot of layers, and Franco Mastantuono, I think gives you something that you didn't have.
Another little wrinkle to the different aspects that Xabi Alonso can deal with. But this is his first year with Real Madrid.
What if Rodrigo leaves, though? If Rodrigo leaves, then he could get that spot, right?
Yeah, but Rodrigo wasn't starting anyway, right? For Real Madrid last season, or was getting limited moments.
I mean, the season before he was definitely.
He was for sure, but that was a different Real Madrid with a different balance, with a different feel. This guy has his work cut out for him. He needs to build and give Real Madrid structure, and he has a lot of weapons to do so. Like, where does Arda Güler play, for example? Because Arda Güler, at times under Ancelotti, was playing as a right winger, cutting in on his dominant left, and then Xabi Alonso uses him as an interior midfield in order to construct the game, because he likes being in contact with the ball, and it looked like it kind of worked. So a lot of questions that this guy has to answer.
And guess who has the answers? Our guy, Phil Kitromilides. Let's go. How does Xabi Alonso find success this year under Real Madrid?
All right, well, we've tried to identify 3 things that he needs to do. He needs to do a lot of things, guys. There's a lot of work for Xabi Alonso to do, taking over at Real Madrid. But 3 things that we think that he needs to do. Firstly, implementing an effective way for the team to press, which is something that they were not doing last season, and it was very, very noticeable. Who are the 2 players in La Liga who spent the most average time walking in matches? Vinicius and Mbappe. Those 2. Listen, if you've got one player who walks a lot, it's fine. If you've got the front 2 walking too much, it's not going to work, and certainly not under Xabi Alonso. So he needs to find a way to get the team to press, because we talk about them defending better. Well, that comes from the front. That comes from pressing all together. So that's one thing.
I like this team press. I'm going to interject here, because as a former striker, how does a manager get a striker who just wants to score goals to defend, be the first line of defense?
I don't know that question. I didn't press ever.
He didn't press in his life.
I didn't press. I wasn't one of those. I was like, give me the ball.
Okay,
do the dirty work.
What could a manager have done to get you to press? What would have been bribing? What would have it done?
You know what it is? I think when I was at Cardiff, I'll give you a story. When I was at Cardiff, I was going through a bit of a tough time. I had a good few seasons at Wolves, but then I went to Cardiff, and the manager said to me straight away, listen, you can do whatever you want outside the box, but I need you to do this. And I think that's kind of what... To get the most out of your players, he would need to say to Vinicius, listen, you've got the free role to do anything you want, but when the ball's in this area, I need you to press. And I think that's the best way to handle them kind of situations.
Yeah.
It's a lot of buy-in, too, and making sure everyone's on the same page. Okay, so that's number 1. Give us number 2, Phil.
Number 2 is identify a ball-playing midfielder. Real Madrid need to work on what they call in Spanish, the salida de balón, bringing the ball out from the back. Who can do that? Well, they had some decent players who could do it in the past. Toni Kroos was pretty good at that. Luka Modric could do that. Who in that midfield is going to do that now? You mentioned Arda Güler playing as an interior midfielder, dropping deep and being able to bring the ball out. Dean Huijsen has been identified as being very, very important in the build-up of play, but you can't sort of, rely everything on this young centre-back in terms of bringing the ball out from the back. So he needs to find someone. Maybe they'll go out and buy someone. Yeah. I think they should have bought Martin Zubimendi. I've been saying that on the show for a long time. I should get over it because he's gone to Arsenal, but still, this is an important thing for Real Madrid in terms of the construction of play.
Trent steps into midfield, doesn't he?
The position of Trent is something, and how he's going to play and where he's going to play is something else that Xabi Alonso's got to do. I told you he's got a lot of things to think about as well. But I think that is a key element, because if you look at that midfield, is it going to be Tchouaméni? Is it going to be Fede Valverde? He can do a lot of things. I mean, Camavinga's a bit wild, so I don't know. He needs to figure that out.
That's like 10 problems in one that you got to solve.
I told you, he's got a busy time ahead of him. And then the final one is talking about Vini Jr, because we've spoken about the work that he might need to do in terms of pressing. But if you look at his numbers last year, Vini Jr did not consistently perform, since November. His form fell off a cliff. If you look at the numbers, 11 goals, 8 assists in the league. For a normal player would be acceptable for Vini Jr coming off the back of the season previously. It really wasn't. So to get him back to his best, playing alongside Kylian Mbappe is something that, because if he doesn't do that, they're not going to have success.
I want to make that addendum. Get Vini Jr back to his best while coexisting with Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
Can I say one thing as well? Sorry, let me interject. In the English media right now, there's been lots of stories of the hierarchy at Real Madrid saying, Xabi Alonso can do anything he wants with his squad. If he wants to drop players, he can. I spoke to you about it, Phil, didn't I? I'm not sure if it's exactly true, because are you going to drop Mbappe? Are you going to drop Vinicius? But they're saying that he can do that. He has the power.
I think Vinicius Jr. put together a season where if he's not producing early on, Xabi Alonso's well in his right to say Vinny to the bench.
But not many managers do that.
Oh, that's the aura that this guy
exactly.
brings, that respect that he commands, right, as a manager, because of not only what he's done at Bayer Leverkusen, because he's clearly no BS, right? It's not smoke and mirrors. He's an actually good young manager, but what he was as a player. There's an aura and there's a respect that he commands.